The Long Road to True Happiness by WierdRandomTina. Chapter 7, Patching Things Over. Friday was a picture-perfect afternoon. Sunny skies with a few patchy clouds. Not too cool and not too warm, with a gentle breeze. Branch was standing outside, leaning against the boulder by the entrance to his bunker. But he took no notice of the pleasant weather around him, due to the storm raging inside him. It was nearing the scheduled time for Poppy to arrive, but he wasn't even certain she would show up after Wednesday's incident. Branch's gut twisted at the terrible memory. What if he scared her off for good this time? And even if she did come back, what could he possibly say or do to make up for his previous words? Nothing. He didn't deserve to be forgiven anyway. What if Poppy hated him now? She should hate him. She was so sweet and friendly towards him. And how did Branch ever repay her? By being an insensitive dirtbag. But Poppy was just too good-hearted to hate anyone for any reason, no matter how much they'd earned it. On the other hand, in the past, she had always brushed off his ill-tempered comments. But this time... Dizzy from all these heavy thoughts, Branch sunk down to the ground, curling his knees up to his chest. As Poppy made her way through the forest, she could feel a slight tremble in her knees, despite all the reassurance Creek had given her. She wished he could be by her side right now, offering more of his soft words of encouragement. Of course, if he knew who she was trying to work things out with, his words would be much different. Oh well, I've got this. Not a problem. It's not like Branch is going to hate me now, right? Poppy shook her head. There's no reason to think that way. I'm getting ahead of myself again. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. No point in worrying about drowning before I'm even near the water. He's had a day and a half to cool down, so surely I'll be able to reason with him by now. Poppy took a moment to recall how he had accepted her box of treats, how he had helped her when she was injured, how they had spent 2 decent days together without incident. That is the real Branch. I know it is. And no matter what happens, I'll never give up on that. With some extra confidence, she picked up her pace. Close to the clearing, she peered through a bare spot in the bushes towards the bunker, and was surprised to see Branch, right there outside. He was slouched against the boulder beside the door hatch, his head resting on his knees, and his arms wrapped around his face. Poppy did not see that coming at all. What is he doing? Is he okay? Is he waiting for me? The leaves rustled as the princess stepped out into the open. Branch jolted his head up at the sound. His eyes widened even more when he realized it was her. He leapt to his feet in the blink of an eye, nearly tripping over himself in the process. Poppy observed him carefully for any signs of anger. She found none. Instead, he seemed anxious as his hands fidgeted and his eyes darted all over, flickering back and forth from her to their surroundings. She offered him a tentative, "Hello."
Hello.
Branch could hardly speak. His throat suddenly felt parched. It was not the usual bubbly Poppy greeting he had grown used to. It carried a slightly questioning tone. She was keeping her distance. She was holding back.
She's probably afraid I'll yell at her again,
Branch thought painfully. Clearing his throat, he struggled to meet her gaze as he stammered,
"It's the weather's... I thought we could be out here."
Poppy relaxed a little. That sounded promising. "Sure. What would you like to do?"
Branch was still fumbling with his words. "Whatever. I mean, something. I don't know."
"Maybe we could go for a walk?" He nodded. It was the first straight answer he had ever given her. Feeling quite hopeful now, Poppy started towards one of the forest paths, gently motioning for Branch to follow. He trailed diagonally behind her for a while. She subtly slowed her pace until they finally ended up side by side, though both maintained a wary distance. Poppy was walking steadily. No humming, no chatting, no skip in her step. She didn't seem tense or downcast, but she still wasn't her overly cheery self. Branch felt guilty, thinking of how many times in the past he'd wished she wouldn't be so upbeat. Now he'd give anything to bring that back. Despite the sharp stone in his stomach, he finally blurted out, "I'm sorry about Wednesday." Out of the corner of his eye, Branch saw Poppy's head turn towards him, so out of instinct, he looked at her in return. But his insecurities overwhelmed him after only a second, and he had to redirect his gaze back down to the ground. He hated that he couldn't maintain eye contact with her during softer moments. It was like some invisible force was always pulling his eyes elsewhere. Poppy was astonished. Sure, it was obvious Branch regretted the way he had behaved based on his current unease around her, but she had been unprepared for a straightforward apology. "Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it, Branch. I don't hold grudges. I'm sorry too. I didn't mean to upset you, and I shouldn't have just run off like that. But today's a brand new day, so let's just put all of that behind us and start over. Okay?" He looked like there was more he wanted to say, but he remained quiet. Poppy didn't feel the need to prompt him. His sincere apology was plenty for her. Plus, he still looked distressed despite her reassurance that everything was resolved between them. She was just grateful to get their friendship back on the right track. "One day I'll get inside his head. I just need to be patient with him." Eventually, Poppy and Branch found their way down to a peaceful sandy spot by the river. He sat first, so she seated herself a respectful distance away. It felt strange to be so far away from a troll she was supposed to be hanging out with, especially after they just shared an apology. That should be followed up by friendly conversation and lots of hugs. But this was about Branch's needs, not Poppy's wants. Socializing and affection were natural everyday things for her, but they were foreign to him. Branch recalled the dozens of times over the years he had snapped at Poppy for disregarding his personal bubble. But now that she was finally giving him the space he had always wanted, he wished she would move closer to him. But he wouldn't dare be the one to initiate anything and move closer to her, even though it would make her happier if he did. For first sake, I am such a hypocrite. After a minute or two, Poppy pulled out some snacks, a colourful cupcake for herself, and another butter tart for Branch. The two trolls were so far apart they both had to strain to reach, but when she gave it to him, their hands didn't touch like they did when he had given her those periwinkle flowers. Branch couldn't believe how much he missed such an insignificant gesture. His voice was barely more than a whisper. "Thank you." "You're welcome." The unwavering warmth of Poppy's soft tone nearly took his breath away. How could she even think about being so caring towards him, when he practically bit her head off only a few days ago, and for no reason? Once they had both finished eating, a flock of birds flew overhead, chirping together to create a sweet melody. It reminded Poppy of a song she hadn't heard for a while, and out of habit, she began singing it, only to clap her mouth shut when Branch turned his head toward her. She shrank away from him. "Oops, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. I'll stop." No, it's okay." Branch felt shame build up again at how skittish she was around him. It doesn't bother you if I sing?" she asked carefully. A bunch of trolls singing cheesy love songs at the top of her lungs bothered him, yes. The thought of himself singing was insufferable. But Princess Poppy singing? Branch shrugged gently. So, after a brief hesitation, she resumed her song, keeping her voice light. She glanced at Branch every now and then to check he wasn't getting irritated. He stared down at the river with a neutral, unreadable expression. Nearing the end of the song, Poppy offered softly. Would you like to sing the last bit with me? She knew it was a major stretch, but it was worth it. It always was.
Yes, but no.
Branch just couldn't. He shook his head, praying she would not question his choice. It was an extremely sensitive subject for him, and he really didn't want to lose his temper on her again. Poppy was burning with curiosity as to why Branch refused to sing. Never once had she heard him hum a tune, or saw him nod along or tap his foot to a catchy rhythm in earshot. Nothing. Not even when he had no idea anyone else was paying attention to him. How could one possibly function without an upbeat melody in their head? But she sensed it wasn't a topic that he was willing to discuss at this point. Okay. Can I sing one more song? It's been stuck in my head all morning and it's driving me crazy. Branch nodded, so Poppy began a new song. He blocked out all other noises, until her soft voice was the only thing entering his ears. It was so soothing, so flawless. He felt a slight urge to give her a compliment, but his discomfort at the idea of hinting any kind of trace of his true feelings was much stronger. So he said nothing. Eventually, he let his eyes shut, savouring the heartwarming sound. Poppy was glad to see Branch looked relaxed. Sure, his facial features remained emotionless, but she recognised the other little signs. His closed eyes, his gentle breathing, his limp shoulders. See? I'm starting to get to know him. I just have to learn how to interpret what he's actually feeling, not what I expect or want him to feel. After the song, the princess asked him if he wanted to stay here a bit longer, or do something else, or head home. Branch hesitated. He wasn't sure he wanted to part with her yet, considering this morning he thought she'd never want to see him again. But he was also exhausted. He had spent the previous 2 nights fretting and hating himself over Wednesday's events. He could really use some solitude to organise his thoughts and feelings.
I guess I am kind of tired.
That's okay. There are some festivals taking place this weekend that I probably should get a head start on anyway. Poppy bounced to her feet. I'll keep an eye out for little trinkets to bring you for Monday. Ooh, that reminds me. Mandy's going to be baking tomorrow's festival. I'll see what other flavours of tarts she can make. Don't worry, I won't let anyone know they're for you.
You don't have to do all that for me,
Branch wanted to say. In his mind it sounded humble, but he knew if it came out of his mouth it would wind up sounding rude. Poppy didn't wait for a reply anyway, and added, Would you like me to walk with you to your bunker? I have time.
No, but okay. I love when you're with me, but you have important things you need to do. You already go out of your way too much for me, and I don't deserve any of it.
All right, I'll see you on Monday then. I may be a little late this time. I have some important royal training to work on with my dad. But I will show up before the evening, I promise. Goodbye, Branch. Have a good rest of your day. Her full exuberance had fully returned. Branch watched in relief as she skipped joyfully towards the village, singing yet another happy song.
Goodbye, Princess Poppy.
Unlike her, there was never a song stuck in his head, not even the simplest beat or catchiest tune. But today, as Branch trudged along the path to the bunker, whispers of the princess's lovely melodies kept repeating in his ears. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Sorry if there are any background noises or if the audio quality is different. I'm in a different room today, I'm in the kitchen. And if you can hear a hum, that's the oven. I'm getting ready for dinner. And what a nice chapter. They're being very quiet and calm, and he's the first one to apologise, which I think is a big step for him. Especially because of how much he feels, but how little he wants to show it. That's really impressive, I think. And Poppy is taking it at his pace too, but not trying to dim down her exuberance too much. It's enough so that he's comfortable, but enough that it doesn't dim her personality, which is very impressive. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day night whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.